I think I've always noticed photography since when I was a kid, and I think as I got older, I got a little bit more interested. But I think I got really interested, probably after college. I saw this work of one of my favorite photographers. His name's Galen Rowell. And I just remember seeing his work and thinking it looked fake. And the places he photographed were so wild. I mean, they're from, you name it, just different mountain ranges all over the world, and they are so spectacular. I just couldn't get over it. And it really inspired me to start creating work of my own. I think honestly, I'm kind of in a phase where I struggle now with 2 young children. And I have a lot less time for photography. So it's harder for me to get out as much as I used to. But if anything, I guess it keeps me going in the sense that I do it less, but it makes me want to do it more because I don't get to do it as much. And no, I'm not anywhere near giving it up at this point. I generally photograph for landscape exclusively at sunrise and sunset, which are also the times when I need to be around for my family. I'm usually, if I'm on a sunrise shoot, I'm in place 1 hour precisely before the sun will rise, which is usually the time I need to be at home to get my daughter out of her crib, right? So I can do that sometimes, but I can't do it a lot, right? So it's limiting. But the other thing that I found that I've actually embraced is I photograph people a lot more than I ever used to. I used to never really photograph people. But now actually I photograph my kids more than I would do real serious, what I would call my artistic work. And I think in some ways it's stretched me as a photographer. Being a landscape photographer, you've got a lot of time to set up your shot. The kids are moving every moment, right? So it forces me to make my decisions faster and faster and faster, which in some ways is actually really good for me as a photographer. So in that sense, it's actually been good for me. I still have to make the same choices about what I'm trying to communicate. So it still gets me practice in a way, maybe not quite on the art that I'm trying to create, but it still gets me practice. At this point, I have too many other priorities to want to turn my photography into a business. But I would like to get my photography more out there. So I think at some point, I'd like my work to have a lot more exposure, but I think that's going to be down the road. I've always, something I'm really struck by, especially when I'm in a place that I really enjoy, is I often have a sense of awe. I'll never forget this one time I was in Banff. It's just beautiful, beautiful Rocky Mountains, right? I'll never forget, I was driving for a sunrise shot, and I was driving around this corner. As I got around this corner, all of a sudden, I saw these mountains, the ones that I was trying to photograph, but they just opened up. And I just started crying. I just couldn't believe how spectacularly beautiful it was. So for me, it's about picking places that I think are just beautiful to me. And what I'm always trying to do is try to recreate that emotion that I'm feeling in that moment for the viewer. That's what I'm always trying to do.